Scrappy peeps, Suzanna here today for Spangled Mom Scraps to share with you this, my next layout in my Traveler's Notebook. The theme of this month over at Spangled Mom Scraps is tools, and the tool that I used is my sewing machine. So Mary has this thing that she showed on Instagram, and she created a plaid with her sewing machine. And I was inspired to take what she did and do something similar but different. So I had this plaid paper from Tim Holtz, and I decided to embellish the plaid and add some white and the other lines to the plaid, and I added white stitching as my tool. So my tool there was the sewing machine. And so you can see me here, I'm just cleaning off the stitches. There were many, many stitches, nowhere near as many as Mary had. I did preserve my sanity a tad more than Mary did. And so I created a border to put on the left-hand side of my Traveler's Notebook spread. So last week, I believe, when we did our Instagram hop for Spangled Mom Scraps, I did my first ever Traveler's Notebook spread, and I did a page in my Elf Antics Traveler's Notebook. So that was day 14. This is going back to day 11, and it is another page in this Elf Antics Traveler's Notebook. So I'm going to have this plaid on the left-hand border, and then I'm going to use some pocket cards from Ellie's Studio, and that is the picture of the elf on day 11. And he went to IKEA and he bought himself a little Christmas scene to hang out in, and I thought that other card on the right-hand side would be a fun complement to that. I wasn't sure, having not really done much in a Traveler's Notebook before, how having borders on either page, on both sides, was going to work, because I thought that it would make a very tall book seem even taller. But by balancing out the 3x4 cards, pocket cards from Ellie's Studio, I felt like I was able to create a visually interesting spread that didn't look incredibly tall, and so by putting the cards on the opposite corners of the pages, and then by using a horizontal picture, I felt that I was able to sort of make that all work proportionally. So on the right hand border, what I decided to do was I used some Carrie Bradford stamps. I think these are from a couple of years ago, and so I just repeated this one particular stamp up and down the right hand side of that page there to create that right border. And it does go off the page, and because it's a Traveler's Notebook and I have used mixed media, the pages are a little bit wonky. So by just putting that red piece of plastic, it's something that I picked up from Target ages ago, I was able to provide myself a firm surface on which to stamp. And because I did stamp off the page, I did need to wipe off some of the ink off of that plastic, which came off pretty quickly. So there is my right-hand border and my left-hand border with the two journal cards and the picture. Now, that picture is very black. You can see the elf because it was at night, and so I needed to add a little bit of black to sort of make the contrast between that white card and the darker picture less of a contrast. So I have pulled these pages, the reds and the whites and the blacks, from the Christmas pack from Tim Holtz, and I found a phrase that says it's the most wonderful time of the year, and I wanted to use that. I thought that black underneath the picture would look really cool. The problem is that it's way too long, and so then I thought I'd use it as a border, and then it was way too short, so I decided to go with some washi tape, and you'll see later I use that phrase elsewhere. So I'm just going to wrap the washi around the 4x3 card, stick that down, overlapping that plaid stitched border there, and Then I had that Merry Christmas washi. So while I covered up a lot of the black, the white washi was see-through. So you still had that impression of the black underneath it. And then I just butted the picture right up to that black tape so that there was an empty space between the picture and the black. And then I thought I'd use that on top, but it's too dark next to the dark picture. So I end up splitting the phrase, and you'll see in a minute that I put it up above the heart at the top of the journal card there. And then one of the things that I do off camera is I had a roller date stamp that didn't have the date, a roller stamp I should say, that just had a bunch of stars. And so I used the same red ink that I use elsewhere in this to just sort of fill above the phrase that I stick in there. So I just banner these. Again, just it's a personal choice for a little bit of interest. And then I'm going to put that card up there that will contain my journaling. I don't actually do my journaling on camera, but I have journaled in there. And because I want the emphasis to be on the journaling, it's pretty plain. There really isn't a whole lot more to that card. And I didn't put it on straight, which when you're sitting next to a border really bothered me. And I had to be careful in lifting it up because I don't let the ink dry with things. I know that. And so I needed to make sure that I wasn't resmudging ink elsewhere. So I like the balance that's created in the dark over there. Try to get a good balance of red and white and black on both pages. Just using my Prima glue pen to stick that in there. So that's the main foundation of the page. I have that black washi, and I wanted a little bit more black on that page, again, for that balance between the right and the left, as well as the top and the bottom. So I just put a small strip of washi up above the red, and then I wanted something down at the bottom of the page, and it almost creates a triangle between the red of Oh What Fun, the red heart above the picture, and then I'm going to do a red Christmas tree. I really struggled with the red Christmas tree because in my mind Christmas trees are green, not red, but it actually works, and I really like the look of it. This first stamp I didn't put a lot of ink on, and so the black is a little less prominent, and those stars are the least prominent of all of it. So a way of drawing some red in was I overstamped in red over the stars, and you'll see that better in the close-up. So this is where I play with things, and so you'll see I pull out the Christmas tree, and I'm going to stamp a Christmas tree in a minute. I get distracted by a lot of things. When I can't make up my mind, I move on to something else and then come back to it, and usually I'm better able to decide what it is that I want to do. So this is that red Christmas tree that will pull that visual triangle in and put a little bit more of a solid thing on that page there. So there's just that little plastic. It's almost like a plastic placemat. I've had it for ages and ages and ages, and honestly this is probably one of the first times that I have used it, but we'll definitely use it more as I do more Traveler's Notebook pages. So there's a little Christmas tree, and now it's time to pull in a little bit of Spiegelmom scraps into this, and I am going to use two sequence mixes, or bits from two different sequence mixes. So I'm going to use the red in Oh What Fun, one of my favorite Christmas collections that Jody's released lately, and then Black Tie Event, which I also seem to use a lot of, which is just the traditional black and white, which she made for a wedding, but would also be great for New Year's, I think. And then I wanted a star for the top of the Christmas tree, and so I pull in one of the white stars that's in the Star Spangled banner mix. You can see that right there. And I just have a trio, a double trio of those stars, just for a little festivity, and again to sort of tie together the layout, the right side spread with the left side spread. Another one of the things that I do off camera is I forgot to date this. So I have some black thickers that I'm just going to put next to the Christmas tree there. And I've already told you about the red stamping that I end up doing. Oh, and then I Target at the dollar spot has some puffy stars, so I put one of the red stars in next to it, and again you'll see the close-up on that. I do also put a date stamp where it says date on that Ellie Studio card. So these Ellie Studios cards are from the Document December kit that she put out. I have yet to use a whole lot of that kit. I'm saving it for my December daily. I just haven't done a whole lot in my December daily. So this is a fun little trick that I learned. If you take a hole punch, and this is a small hole punch, and you punch it on either side, it's an easy way. So you don't do a hole, you do it half of the hole on either side. It's an easy way to tie twine in and help have it stay so that it doesn't slide down the page. And I thought I was going to be really tricky here and be able to tie my bow and have it be tight enough, only it's still loose and it wobbles around. So I have to stick my finger in, tie a knot, and then tie the bow in order to have it nice and tight. So that, my friends, is day 11 in my Elf Antics Traveler's Notebook for Spiegel Mom Scraps. Jody has some great Christmas mixes, and I believe she has some new releases that she released out yesterday. So if you haven't been over to the store lately, be sure to check in the store and see if you need to add any of those new mixes, maybe with some Christmas money in a couple of days. I thank you for joining us on the Spiegel Mom Scraps YouTube channel today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the box below. And in a couple of minutes, there's going to be, or a couple of minutes, in a couple seconds, there's going to be some close-ups for you to see, and you can see some of the off-camera changes I made as well as a bit more detail. Thanks for joining us today. If I don't see you before the holidays and you celebrate, Merry Christmas. Take care.